Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. We are so happy to have you here with us today. We are live from Glasgow, Scotland, where COP26 is happening. My name is Magda Gana. I'm the Secretary of Makati YMCA in the Philippines, and I will be your host for today. Today, we will have a panel discussion hosted by our friends from Bread for the World, followed by a YMCA commitment statement to combat climate change by the head of our delegation, Silke Boltz from YMCA Germany. We will also get a chance to see the APAY Green Ambassador Program, and we will be hearing from some of our young delegates who have been taking part of the official negotiations happening here in Conference of the Parties. And finally, but not the least, we will have a look at the amazing work being done by the young people through their youth-led climate action solutions. This is being implemented around the world, and also we will be hearing a surprise announcement by the YUSA. So, at the end of this session, we will have a Q&A and finally a group photo. I would like to ask you guys to please enjoy this time, and may you continue to be inspired by the YMCA and to also be inspired to take climate action. We are never too small to do something. Without further ado, allow me to give the floor to Annika Rash. She is a policy advisor for climate change at Bread for the World, working on loss and damage issues mainly. She has peace and conflict studies. So now I welcome Annika. Over to you. Okay, so I think there's some connection issues. So at this time, may I turn over the floor to Silke Boltz. Silke.
Hi everyone. It's great to see you. I'm currently at COP in the Blue Zone, and a warm welcome from here. I'm in a large room, so it might be a bit noisy, and I think my camera is a bit blurry, but I think you can still hear me well. Okay, that's great. And I would like to read out and to present the YMCA statement and the COP26 commitment to combating climate change. This is what it is all about. And we have a Green New Deal for the global YMCA movement as well. So I want to give you a bit of context, starting with that. And so first I will elaborate a bit on what this is all about and how the climate conference has started. So the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, that's the UNFCCC that we speak always about, entered into force on the 21st of March, 1994. That was before I was born, so it really happened already for a lot of years. And in the past, there were 25 conferences of the parties, Conference of the Parties, COPs. We had COP26. So there's the acronym. The conferences of the parties have subsequently been held, aimed at preventing dangerous human interference with the climate system. Since 1990, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, that's the IPCC, has released a series of comprehensive assessments of the state of the Earth's climate, confirming that human-induced climate change is already bringing about many weather and climate extremes in every region across the globe, as you can imagine, and many of you have already experienced, I believe. This year, COP is meeting again for the 26th time with the same agenda, climate crisis still an issue. However, the situation has not improved. If anything, it has worsened. The latest IPCC report, IPCC, that's the body that I was speaking about before, was issued just before COP in August 2021. So the IPCC report reinforced and significantly strengthened all the most urgent warnings that have emerged from the past 30 to 40 years of climate science. So some events that I didn't even know about. The United Nations Secretary General, Antonio Guterres, said the working group group's report was nothing less than a red code for humanity. The alarm bells are deafening and the evidence is irrefutable. So it's really clear the evidence is there, the science is there. We really just need political action. And that's why we also need civil society action. And that's why the YMCA is in there. So what about the YMCA? What is the YMCA commitment? So what will we do? The YMCA commitment to combat climate change is rooted in Challenge 21, a contemporary mission statement of the World YMCA, which calls on the global YMCA family to take serious responsibility to defend God's creation against all that would destroy it, which is climate change as well, and to preserve and to protect the Earth's resources for the coming generations. Like this intergenerational equity is really a thing, but also the intragenerational equity, like which is our neighbor somewhere else in another country, in another continent, or in the same street that is already affected by climate change. So you've heard about it maybe, the YMCA Vision 2030, which is the final consultation process for adoption in the YMCA Council in July 2022. So maybe hopefully see you there. So that's called a sustainable planet and is one of the 4 pillars of shared activity. In it, the movement, like the YMCA, commits to the full protection and regeneration of the planet, preparing a just transition to a world where humans live in full harmony with nature. So the YMCA commits to becoming a greener movement and an active youth voice on climate justice and youth-led sustainability solutions throughout the world. Maybe you've heard about all the different youth-led solution summits that were going on and all the different youth-led solution projects that are being implemented. That's really the way forward. So you've heard like that nowadays a lot of new Green Deals around. So the YMCA has one as well, of course. So recognizing that the YMCA is a global youth movement, like there's not such a similar youth movement that is that big. And the YMCA reaches tens of millions of young people from all walks of life, all over the world, really diverse backgrounds. That's really unique. So we need to take our responsibility very seriously. And our goals and targets are focused on the following areas. So those areas are climate justice, fossil-free and nature-based solutions, investing in youth, and also we need to work on ourselves, the Green YMCA. So we'll go through those one after one. So starting with climate justice, which is now part of our YMCA Green New Deal. So climate justice is more than just a commitment, but differentiated responsibilities. So this is a term in the university space. It's also abbreviated with CBDRs. You will hear about it again, CBDR, that's common but differentiated responsibilities. So some of the Blue Zone attendees might know about it already. So this one acknowledges that the poor and vulnerable are least responsible, but most impacted by climate change. I mean, that's so obvious and it's so sad. We know that climate change, poverty, and inequality are interlinked. We also know that the climate change has worsened global inequality. The impacts of climate change affect women and men differently. Climate justice demands that governments and corporations accept significant responsibilities towards those vulnerable people. It demands that we give special attention to protect and empower the marginalized, indigenous, and minority communities. That's about lifting voices, empowering people, amplifying their voices so we can work as a community towards those goals. That's so important. So now I want to come to the second pillar in the new YMCA Green New Deal, which is fossil-free and nature-based solutions. That's the biggest source of carbon dioxide emissions are the big corporations in both developed and developing countries. The world's long-term goal is to seek to be fossil-free by 2050, and I personally would also like before that, shifting to fossil fuel-free sources of energy. We believe that nature-based solutions are the best to address climate change mitigation and adaptation, providing benefits to both human well-being and biodiversity. And if you're wondering what is those nature-based solutions about, that is plants, trees, and other nature-based things that help to mitigate to climate change or adapt to climate change. Instead of having technical solutions, we have nature-based solutions that can be a mangrove forest, that can be trees in the city, that can be something else. It's really so simple, but really great solution. So we also need to change our consumption and production patterns because there are two sides of the greenhouse gas equation. to help people make ethical and sustainable consumption choices. We call for the implementation of carbon or greenhouse gas footprint labeling on all consumer products. I think that would be really helpful to make it easier for consumers to make a better choice, but also the producers need to have some guidelines so that they cannot produce the most polluting products, I think. So what is the YMCA about as well? So that's investing in youth, of course. So it's all about the youth. So we need to work on our resources and invest in it. So world leaders at COP25 joined youth activists in the historic signing of an intergovernmental declaration on children, youth, and climate action. That was really great, and it was really big. The declaration acknowledged the global leadership on calls of children, young people for urgent and immediate climate action, as well as their critical roles as agents of change. And you know, agents of change agents, that's really popular in the YMCA. Investing in youth is investing in now and in the future. YMCA believes that every young person should live in a sustainable environment, and every old person as well, I would admit. YMCA believes that every young person has the ability to contribute to reducing environmental degradation and its consequences. And not only every young person, of course, but everyone has the chance and the opportunity to contribute to a greener world according to his or her its opportunities, of course. So YMCA thus calls for mainstreaming structures to ensure youth participation in all levels of decision making. It's so important to have youth at the table, but also to amplify the youth. And as the YMCA, we can really be a big lever there and give youth the voice and amplify their voice and help youth defining their voice as well. So this we can do through capacity building, support and investment in youth-led innovation to pilot models and intervention. And once such a pilot is built, we can scale it up. And in the big YMCA movement, I see a lot of space there. So we spoke about the youth. So now comes the movement, the Green YMCAs and the Green New Deal. YMCA is committed to educating young people on the importance of climate change and taking action on reducing their own carbon footprint emissions. The YMCA as an organization is also committed to working towards becoming a Green YMCA through a lot of different measures. So it's not about only calling upon the others, but also we as a movement, we can and we will and we must really do something, start at our own doorstep and then spread the word into the world. So now I want to give it back to the others, and greetings from Glasgow, from COP. Have a great day.
Thank you so much, Silke, for sharing us the YMCA statement on combating climate change. Silke studied in Silke has studied environmental sciences and global change management. She has further interned in the office of a member of the German Parliament in Berlin and in German Federal Environment Ministry in Bonn, at the European Commission in Brussels, and at the International Institute for Sustainable Development in Geneva. Being a member of the World YMCA's resource group on the environment since 2015, she has served as the co-lead in the working group for environmental initiatives for climate education and is currently head on YMCA delegation for COP26. Again, thank you so much, Silke, for sharing us with that statement. May I ask everyone to please give Silke a virtual round of applause. Ooh. Okay, so before I move on to my fellow YMCA COP delegates, I would like to call on first our friends from Bread for the World. We're glad to have here Annika Rash. She is a policy advisor for climate change at Bread for the World. Annika, over to you.
Thank you. I hope you can all hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great. Please do let me know if you can't hear me anymore, because the connection is unstable here. I'm going to share my screen right now. Okay, are you able to see my screen?
Yes, you can see it. Go ahead.
Thanks so much for inviting me. It was really a pleasure and also a surprise to me to be invited, because yeah, just to let you know quickly, I saw there's some German fellows on the call. Bread for the World, or Brot für die Welt, is a development agency of the Protestant Churches of Germany, and we've been working with more than 400 partner organizations for like more than 30 years now, or at least 40 years. And YMCA is one of our partner that we've been working for a very long time. So thank you very much for having me here today. I have just joined Back for the World recently in September 21. I used to be a policy advisor for CAN Tanzania. So I used to live in Tanzania for some time with the Climate Action Network. And it's really great to be now back in Germany and work with different partner organizations. But mainly, as I'm working in the political department, I work on lobby activities on loss and damage with my colleagues from networks and around the globe. So today I was asked to talk a bit about climate emergency and climate justice. So please excuse me if there's a lot of information that you've heard before and you feel like this is a bit boring to you. It was last minute, so I hope we can get into exchange a little bit and talk about loss and damage, climate emergency and climate justice. Okay, I hope this works. So yeah, let me start with the map. It's unfortunately in German, but sorry, I can't see. Oh, sorry, I'm ignoring the chat for now. So if we have questions, we can do this later, I hope. So yeah, you can see the map here, and you see like many countries are at risk due to the impacts of climate change, especially those colored in red. And as you can see, it's mainly like Asia, parts of Africa, like West Africa and Central America. And there's parts of the world, such as Germany or the EU, that are not at risk that much as other countries in the world. And as you can see on the second page, not all countries have the same capacities to deal with climate change. And here comes the first climate injustice. Climate justice is not only about the polluted countries paying for the damages they have done. This is one, but secondly is that those countries who are most vulnerable to climate change don't have the same capacities and the same opportunities to tackle the climate change. And here on the map, you can see, for example, Sub-Saharan Africa is very, very red. So, and Germany, for example, we have experienced floodings in May. And the difference between Germany and many countries in the global south is that we have more financial means to cover these damages, and we have insurances as well. So there's a huge injustice tackling climate change, especially because those countries who suffer most are the ones that have least greenhouse gas emissions. So one of our partners is from Nepal, for example, and you can see those pictures, they look pretty similar because both countries, they're experiencing flooding this year. But as I mentioned before, the capacities or capabilities to tackle climate change are very, very different. So I want to give you a bit more of like numbers. For example, the International Red Cross World Disaster Report in 2020 has counted 2019 308 natural disasters, and 77% of them were climate induced. So in total, we had more than 24,000 deaths and almost 98 million were affected. And those weather-related disasters increased by 35% in the last 30 decades. So looking back at 2019, for example, due to the cyclone Amphan, we had losses and damages of more than 13 billion US dollars. So if we look at, for example, climate finance offered by the industrial countries of $100 billion per year, this is not enough. And especially those 100 billion do not include losses and damages. So loss and damages, we divide them in between two sections. We have the extreme weather events, as you might have heard, storms, floods, droughts, etc. Here's a picture of our partner in the Philippines, Typhoon Haiyan in 2013. You see a lot of damages. We have Ethiopia that are suffering droughts and water scarcity. Not only Ethiopia, it was just an example by one of our partners. Then we also have the slow onset events that people tend to forget a lot. We have sea level rise, desertification, and glacier melting. As you can see here, for example, this is a picture of our partners in Papua New Guinea. They've tried to build a dam, but the sea level has increased so much that the whole country itself is becoming like it's being flooded. So Tuvalu is a different partner of us that is suffering from sea level rise. and glacier melting in Peru, I've mentioned, just to give you a few pictures. So on the one hand, we have economic losses and damages, loss of infrastructure, harvest, yields, crops, etc. This is, for example, a picture in India of infrastructure that's collapsed due to the losses and damages. Then what we tend to forget is the non-economic losses and damages, like many countries and communities, especially the indigenous ones. They're losing their identity, culture, and language. For example, my colleague met people from Tuvalu, and they said migration can't be the answer to the climate impacts. So people don't want to leave their countries to another country, for example, from Tuvalu to Australia, because it's not their home country. They said they lose their identity. And just to give you, sorry, I can't see that here, a little bit more details, the least, sorry, nice. Anyways, so the least developed countries and the small island countries are especially impacted by climate change. And what that means is like they have less capacities to sustainable development. They can't increase their resilience to climate change as much as, for example, Germany. Eradication of poverty, increased debt due to the damages and losses they experience of climate change, etc., and investments at capital markets are decreased due to the impacts. So overall, it's a punishment for climate vulnerable states at capital markets for being climate vulnerable. We see like out of 154 developing countries, 124 are in debt. So if the answer, for example, for industrial countries is we offer loans to developing countries to cover climate damages, this can't be the answer, because as you can see, many people are already in debt, and this is to be increased due to COVID, but also due to more extreme weather events that are occurring. So luckily we had Paris in 2015, the first time loss and damage was actually mentioned in the Paris Agreement. That's only theoretically. If we have a look at the graph, for example, before COP, we estimated a temperature increase of 2.7 degrees. Some people even say 3 or 4 with the current ambitions. At the moment, as we can see the COP26 moving on, it's 2.4 degrees. And it doesn't say that all countries deliver what they have promised. So how much is actually doing nothing? So the industrial countries promised $100 billion per year from 2020. That wasn't delivered, as you might have heard. So as I mentioned before, 2/3 of the climate finance are loans anyways. So only 1/3 is grants, which is a huge problem to gain resilience. Another point is that climate finance is only for mitigation and adaptation. Adaptation is only 25% at the moment. So what we need more, we have to increase adaptation, money for adaptation, but we also need extra money for loss and damage, because at the moment we have 0 cents for loss and damage. The first pledge came from Scotland like last week, as you might have heard, but other countries have not guaranteed any money for loss and damage. So studies say that loss and damage costs will rise up to 300-400 billion per year in 2030. So, and this is only if countries deliver what they have promised now. So what needs to happen at COP26, and what we still hope is going to happen, is that loss and damage finance has to become a part of the new post-climate finance goal. So we need to have adaptation, mitigation, and loss and damage for the post-25 goal. And the negotiations need to start now, and we have like 3 days left. On the other hand, the Santiago Network on Loss and Damage, which was invented in 2019 in Madrid, needs to be operationalized. At the moment, it's only a website, and this network can offer developing countries technical capacities to address loss and damage, actually. So in my last point is loss and damage needs to become a permanent agenda item in UNFCCC, because loss and damage can't be covered with adaptation, because those losses and damages happen already. Too late. So we adapt. Of course, adaptation has to increase, but it's too late to ignore loss and damage. So that was my little input. Thank you so much for listening. Yeah, please also, if you wish to contact me, there's my email address, and yeah, happy to engage more with the YMCA network. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anika and the Bread for the World for the amazing work you're doing. We need to hear these things because as young people, we need to be informed of what's really going on. And we really appreciate you to be here with us today. Thank you so much, Anika. Okay, so I'd like to recognize the presence of our World YMCA President, Patricia Pelton. Thank you for joining us today, Patricia. Hello. Hi. And also joining us is the president of the APAY, Chin Chen Seng. Thank you also for being here with us today. Okay, so moving on, I would like to call on the APAY, our friends from the APAY, who are doing an amazing work in environment and climate action. So we will witness their Green Ambassadors program. So let's all watch this video. Wow, that was a great video. Can I ask you guys to please put your hands together? We can see you in the camera, so please, that deserve a round of applause. And we also appreciate Patcharin of the Chiang Mai YMCA for taking the lead into this Green Ambassador. I am also a proud Green Ambassador from the APAY, so thank you so much. So speaking of this telling of stories of what we're doing, now I would like to call on my four fellow COP delegates here in Glasgow to share with us their stories as well and their experiences here at COP so far. So may I call on Ile? Okay, I'll call first Ile from Kosovo. Ile Aliyah from Kosovo. And I'll also call on Diana Lopera from Hawaii. And um, we also have Rebecca Nakunde from Zambia and Rodrigo Puntriano Mendoza from Peru. Over to you guys.
Okay, first of all, it's an honor to be with you guys here, and hello and greetings from Glasgow, from the COP26. So we as YMCA ambassadors in Glasgow, we are representing Youth-Led Solution Initiative, which is made by World YMCA and financed by World YMCA. And so far, we have been part of different panel discussions and speaking about things that truly matter for the climate crisis and climate change that is happening around the world. So I'm presenting my project at the COP26, which is Team Tree Project, which is a project that aims to tackle deforestation and mainly to plant and donate trees each year and donate these trees for the cause of deforestation. So, so far we have train young people on climate crisis and climate and deforestation. And furthermore, we have continued like cleaning parks in Kosovo, and we also have built a tree nursery in Kosovo. So I am from YMCA Kosovo for people that don't know, and it's an honor really to represent also YMCA Kosovo in COP, because unfortunately Kosovo as a country is not like allowed to participate as a country in COP, but thanks to the YMCA, the voice of Kosovo young people is being heard. So I'm very happy to share my experience and to be the voice of Kosovo young people in COP. And I really appreciate and want to thank World YMCA for this opportunity and for giving us the chance like to share what we think about climate crisis as young ambassadors. And one important thing about my experience so far in COP, I have been part of different panels, and we have discussed on climate justice and also human rights, and how we see human rights and climate justice as a young people, and what is happening around the world. So that's what I'm going to say for today, and I'm going to pass the word to my other fellow ambassadors which are here. And I will pass the word to Rebecca. Thank you again, and it's an honor to be here.
Can you hear me? Yes. Okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Rebecca Nkunde from Zambia, like my colleague said. I am also an ambassador, a YMCA ambassador to the COP26. I'm so happy to be here. It's a pleasure, and thanks for having me. So I also am a part of the youth-led solutions program that has been funded by the World YMCA. It has been an amazing experience, and we're just so glad that we were among the people that were, or among the group that were picked to actually have received the funding, because it really goes a long way, and it is going a long way. So I am a teacher by profession, and I have used my profession or my talents to actually go around the schools in my community, educating and teaching about the effects of climate change and the ways in which we can help reduce those effects. I'm working with about 3 schools in one of the densely populated communities within the city where I live, which is Ndola, based in the northern region of the country, the Copper Belt, where we have the largest amount of plastic waste around. We have been working with those young people, educating them and teaching them how to repurpose plastic, paper, and every other recyclable material to try and reduce the footprint of all that waste, and just to try and see if the efforts that we can do together can mitigate the level of climate change in our community. So I believe that as long as we're doing things together, and as long as the younger generation is involved, it's something that will go on and will go a long way. And my experience here at COP26 has been phenomenal. I feel so blessed that I actually came here because I got to meet such wonderful people. I have not really had like a chance to sit in all the negotiations that have taken place, but I am so honored that I've met Ule, I've met Rodrigo, I have met Diana, and finally got to see Marie-Chris, and I also finally got to meet Mike, and I'm still meeting more new people, which is so great, because every time that we sit to have a discussion about the work that we do, I just get so uplifted by the ideas that they have. I also get encouraged and realize that we're making a difference in learning a lot of things that I'm really going to replicate when I go back home. And I'm so glad that these people are doing what they're doing. It's an encouragement to every other youth out there to please carry on with this. Let's keep the fire burning. I pass on the torch to other people. As long as the seed has been planted, definitely it's going to grow and it will finally bear fruit. And so the youth-led solution is a very good initiative in a way that most of the youth in our community, in various communities that you go to, have the ideas on how to try and support different governments in the efforts that they have in eliminating or trying to mitigate climate change, but they just do not know where to start. They also do not have the capital to start whatever initiative it is that they want to start. And if more and more people can come on board and support these however they can, financially, physically, by going with us in the outreaches that we can, and just so many ways, because everything that we do just requires more and more support, even from the older generations. So it will be a blessing to have so many people come on board and give us the support that we need, especially the financial support, because we are meeting with people that are less privileged. We're working with people that don't go to school, with people that don't have water in their communities. It will surely go a long way if more and more people would support the cause. So I think it's an honor, and whoever is supporting and helping us, please don't give up. Go on and on. We are receiving the support, we can feel it, and we're highly appreciative. So yeah, that's that. Thank you so much for having me. And next will be my buddy Rodrigo. I did not pronounce that correct, but yeah.
Thank you, Rebecca. You spoke to our hearts, and I really appreciate that. Hello, everybody. My name is Rodrigo. Say hi to you from Glasgow. And I come here from Peru. Spanish is my first language, actually, so I apologize in advance for any issues that may create. I want to know whether you're listening to me or not. Are you listening? Yes, you're listening to me. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Well, as my other colleagues, I am here as a YMCA ambassador from Peru to represent World YMCA at COP. I haven't, I mean, I have a colleague delegate that is following the negotiations like on a daily basis, and he is really well into the details of it. But I've been reading a few about what's been happening, and I see myself double right here. and I've actually, I think a major agreement, something very forward is still yet to happen, is still yet to be agreed upon, which is sort of disappointing. We are near the end of the conference and not a big major agreement has been achieved. But I am hopeful. I'm not hopeful for what's going on in the blue zones in the negotiations, as I am hopeful for the groundwork that me and my colleagues are doing back in their communities. I have gotten to meet them, I would say, very well, and I think they're marvelous people. I think that their job is amazing, and I think we have a lot of potential to change the world if we set our hearts to, as we have set our hearts to. To speak a little about my experience, I am representing the Sumah Muru project, which is a circular economy project. We are transforming plastic waste into sanitary infrastructure for people without proper access to water and sanitation. We do this in Arequipa, in a community called La Mampilla. And we actually, I used to tell the story of Nicole, which is a middle-aged mother who, once we interviewed her, she told us that she haven't had water for 15 days to cook for her children. While she broke into tears. Actually, in my country, almost 1 out of 4 people do not have proper access to water and sanitation. And our project is trying to tackle climate change while also addressing this issue, which is very important, and it's very affecting a lot of people in my country. So we have done that. We are building a sanitary infrastructure made out of plastic eco bricks. We stuff bottles with plastic, and we are going to build, actually in December, our first eco base, as we call it, which is going to be connected to a biodigester. In this biodigester is going to filter water that goes through the bathrooms, and we'll be able to create green areas around it for the community. That is a little bit about my experience here at COP. And I just want to say thank you for listening. And I hope that we as a World YMCA are able to keep supporting youth-led solutions that, and from my personal opinion and perspective, are the future for our world. Thank you very much. I will leave the floor to Diana right here.
Aloha mai kako. Kamusta? My name is Diana Lopera. I'm originally from the island of Saipan, but I currently reside in Hawaii, and I am one of the YMCA youth ambassadors here with my fellow friends. It is such an honor to be a part of a delegation and to be surrounded by youth that have taken their stance in climate action and trying to do what they can to do in their communities, into driving what it takes to address the issues in their communities. A little bit about the project of my youth-led solution. Back in Hawaii, we have our global warming and e-waste initiative. This is a project initiative that we started because we wanted to address the issue of food waste in Hawaii. About 90% of the food that we eat in the islands are imported, meaning that if the ships stop coming with the imported foods, we have less than a week of supplies to provide the sustenance needed for our communities. And so really the project for global warming started with using the power of worms to break down the food waste that we have across the island and breaking it down into nutrient-rich soil that we can give to communities so that they can help grow their own food and help that cycle of sustainable agriculture. And then another part of the project is to tackle the issue of electronic waste, which we find a lot in the, that are disposed in the roads across the island. And really, since the pandemic, we see everybody buying new TVs, buying new computers as they start to transition and work from home, but really what do we do with the electronic waste that they throw away, and how do we properly dispose of that? So electronic waste, how do we properly dispose of that so it's not detrimental to the environment? And so what we have done is we have coordinated with local companies to help set up e-waste drives to ask community members to give their electronic waste to be properly disposed. And so we have collected over 7,500 pounds of electronic waste, which for the rest of the world is like 3,400 kilograms. And so through those actions, we have really put forth what we wanted to do. And all of this was created because of the passions that we have with our young people in Hawaii, which actually these initiatives that we had were actually inspired when we attended YMCA 175 in London, and we saw all these young leaders all across the world that look like us, that talk like us, that understand the experiences that we have. And when we came home, we wanted to build upon that inspiration and see what we could do in our communities. And so that's just a little bit about my project. In terms of my experience at COP, there's a lot of mixed feelings, I guess. On one hand, I am super grateful that I get to talk to people like Ile, people like Rebecca, to people like Rodrigo, Mags, and hearing their stories and hearing where they come from and helping and just sharing my story and understanding where we come from, and so that knowing where we come from so we know where to go forward together. And so really growing up, I was always told to look at role models, to look up to certain people. And it was really hard to do so because I couldn't really relate to them. And so I realized that the reason why I couldn't find those role models was because I was looking in the wrong direction. Instead of looking up, I should have looked side by side next to me, because the leaders that I really look up to are the youth, and they're here all with me in this room today. And so, yeah, the power of the youth is so important, and all the projects that we share today are just a little bit of what we have, of what are just a snippet of what we have done so far. And really, this is what happens when you invest in youth. This is what happens if you give them a platform to go and do what they want, what they have to offer, because they have the solutions. We just need to provide, they just need to provide us the platform to do so. And so we will no longer wait, for climate change. We will no longer wait to grow up, to have the fancy titles, to have the years of experience just to be taken seriously, because climate change is not going to wait for us. So neither should we. So thank you, everybody. It's an honor to be here, and I'm super excited for the rest of the week.
Wow. Thank you very much to my fellow COP delegates here for sharing your stories, your journey, and the amazing work that you guys are doing back home. So with that, I would like to call on also the person who's been helping us organize the youth-led solutions. She is a senior manager at the YUSA and a good friend. I'd like to call on Adriana Stanovici.
Thank you so much, Mags. And can we have another round of applause for these amazing young people and the stories? It has been my honor and privilege to have heard their stories, to have walked alongside of them. And for those of you who don't know me, so my name is Adriana. I'm at YMCA of the USA, but a big part of my role was helping get the Youth-Led Solutions Summit for Climate Action last year in October off the ground. And I worked with an amazing planning committee from all over the world, including MAGs and folks from all over, to envision how do we keep the momentum going from YMCA 175, which was a huge celebration of youth leadership, of elevating young voices to make the change we want to see in community. Like Diana said, we're done waiting. So what can the YMCA do to elevate these youth voices? And the Youth-Led Solutions Initiative came out of that, of how do we create a space for young people to come together, to form teams, to work together, to access resources, to access funding, mentorship, a platform within the YMCA to take action about pressing global issues that they are passionate about, like climate action. So I want to bring us all back to the original vision that all of this work came out of, because this doesn't sit in a silo. It doesn't sit alone. One of the wonderful things that I love about the YMCA is that we elevate youth voices to take action in so many different topics that are interconnected. But ultimately, the vision of the Youth-Led Solutions Initiative was to amplify youth solutions that positively impact local and global sustainability, the development of just and equitable communities, and the well-being of all people. And I share that with you because it feels like so long ago, 2 years ago, when this vision was developed. And as I'm listening to the amazing stories from Rebecca, from Rodrigo, from Diana, from Yuli, from all these different parts of the world, this is just a small sampling of the amazing work that's been happening over the last year and a half, and what more there is to come. I appreciate Rodrigo's comments of, yes, there's frustration. There's a lot we can't control. There are governments, there are bigger forces, and we have a role to play in advocacy. And that's what our wonderful YMCA Youth Ambassadors are doing at COP26. But ultimately, we can influence, we can advocate. We can't decide what governments will do or what these bigger forces will do. What we do have control over is the actions that we take in our local communities and how we connect that to a global network and to the YMCA. And the stories that you heard today are just a small sampling of that. And I'm so, so proud and so privileged and honored to have heard these stories and to be part of this movement that we're building together, this momentum that keeps rolling and building, and not just looking to the future, but also how do we bring up others behind us. I want to share just these small samplings, again, are one part of the story. In the past 12 months, the YMCA has invested over $160,000 in 35 youth-led solutions. And this is just a portion of those that applied from 20 different countries. As we were preparing for COP, we started to gather all the impact data of where are we now 12 months later and what's happened. The projects of these amazing young people from all over the world have impacted more than 38,000 people, which is incredible to think about when the YMCA has a presence all over the world. And this is one way in which we're able to take action. So the Youth-Led Solutions Initiative put critical resources, including funding, in the hands, like Diana said, the YMCA can be a platform to elevate youth voice. We have connections, we have network, we have resources. How do we use those as an organization to give space to young people to lead? So with that, I want to share that there's been so much amazing work happening, that there has been so much interest from other organizations that have seen what we're doing, have heard the stories from our amazing youth ambassadors and from the solutions team, and have said, what's next? I want to be a part of what's next. We know that many of YMCA solution teams came to the table, some with brand new ideas that they started from the ground up and started from zero, and now have made a lot of progress, but there's still a lot of potential. And some have had seeds of ideas and had existing programs or initiatives that they use the seed funding to accelerate and to evolve. So because you all are at COP26, you're tuning in from all over the world as YMCA supporters and champions, I want to give you a first peek at announcement that will not be public until Friday. And that is that we have secured an additional $150,000 in seed funding to continue to fund and to support youth-led solutions around climate action. This will be a combination of existing projects that have received funding and have bigger ideas of where you want to go. Yes, keep going. There's more resources available. For some young people on the call, or some YMCAs or communities that didn't have a chance to participate the first round, but have some ideas on how they can take action in their communities, we're excited to bring in new folks to the fold as well. In addition to funding, we're also building a network. We're building a movement, building upon the amazing work Mags shared about the Green Ambassadors earlier. That is an incredible program, in many ways have set a foundation for the work that's happening now. So we're bringing in and building upon all the amazing work that's happening. There will be grants available to strengthen, to scale youth-led solutions. We want to continue to deepen our impact around climate change. The criteria will be very similar to the first round. Must be youth-led. We are the YMCA, and that's what we're looking to do. Must look at climate action. And just to share a bit about the timeline, so you are hearing this in November 10th. You get the early scoop. It's not even public until Friday, so don't share publicly. You'll see the public announcement on Friday. However, what this will look like is in January, February, we'll have an application that will go live, and I'll share a link in the chat to sign up for updates. We will share it with all of you here as well. So the application will go live early next year. Then there will be a review, and the funds distribution will likely be sometime in March. Young leaders and youth-led teams will have an opportunity to activate their solutions, whether that's expanding or growing upon what they've already been doing, or doing something new between April and October of next year. Even though the work is never done, we will share some of our highlights and accomplishments at World Council in July. And there will also be lots of opportunities to connect virtually. How do we learn from each other and leverage our global network to continue to be more impactful? So I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to walk alongside you. Thank you for the amazing work that you're doing and is making it possible for us to raise more resources. And I'm just floored. I'm so proud of how far these groups have come, and I'm so excited for what more is to come. So thank you. And the last thing I'll say is this is the link in the chat to sign up for updates. We'll share more details when they're available. Thank you. And Mags, back to you.
Thank you so much, Adriana, for that wonderful news. Guys, let's put our hands together for that wonderful news. Again, this is not yet public, so you guys have the privilege to hear it first. So thank you so much, Adriana. And now I'd like to also thank the World YMCA for believing in young people, in investing in these youth-led solutions. You could also check on the links that Mike has shared with us in the chat box. And you can also check on the blogs that we've been writing in the www.ymca.in/COP26. Okay, so now we're happy and proud to share with you this trailer of Creating Youth-Led Solutions. This film, which will premiere on Friday, November 12 at 15:30 UK time, that would be 11:30 p.m. in Hong Kong time, from COP26 in Glasgow. Please use the QR code to set a reminder, or you can use the link posted in the chat. So please, guys, you can invite as many people as possible, even those who are not in the YMCA. We have to amplify this. We have to tell our stories and to tell what we're doing in the YMCA. So with that, I'd like to thank you everyone for joining us today in this short briefing. And before that, let's get excited and watch this premiere. Thank you.
The crisis that we are is being caused by us, the humans.
It makes you wonder what kind of a world we will leave for the next generation.
I'd like to think of us as global citizens rather than local citizens. But if you want to have great leaders of tomorrow, the leaders of now have to be great, they have to do action, they have to inspire.
Sumakmuru es más que un proyecto, es una idea potente que cree en la transformación de recursos inorgánicos que todos desechan en una nueva oportunidad de construir algo que pueda mejorar la realidad de otras personas.
From this trash, we turn it into treasure.
I feel happy that this program has been started at our school in my time, and I'm going to be part of that team to make it to reach its fruition.
We will no longer wait to grow up, to have the fancy titles, to have the years of experience.
Maybe we cannot prevent deforestation 100%, but each of us can plant some trees and make this process less impactful, in this case deforestation.
If people will not act together towards our goal to have a sustainable environment, everything we have and the future of our children will perish.
If people know that we are in a crisis, then they'll be able to act differently.
Climate change is not going to wait for us, and neither should we.
Wow, thank you so much. So it's exciting, guys. Let's wait for it. Let's watch it on Friday. So again, thank you, YMCA. And now it is my honor to introduce to you, to present to you, Madam Patricia Pelton, the President of the World YMCA. We're honored that you're here with us. Patricia, over to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Magda. And thank you to Silke for that great overview. Magda, thanks for hosting. To Annika, thanks for those wise words and our warning about how we have to stick to this. Even though we can be discouraged, I don't want you to be discouraged. Progress is being made. I can feel it. We can see it in our country. We can see it all over. It's not fast enough, but that means it's a huge challenge and we can't give up. There's no alternative. We have to keep working and influencing. As Diana said, climate change is not waiting and neither can we. I want you to know that these youth ambassadors are the pride of YMCA. We are just so pleased, and Adriana, thank you for your leadership there and your excellent words. So to Yili, Rebecca, Rodrigo, Diana, thank you for all your good work that you're doing there. You know, World YMCA is committed to youth voice and leadership and advocacy and taking action in climate change. And that is going to continue. That is not going to go anywhere. We have to have that youth voice, and it's very important to youth. And indeed, it should be important to everyone all over the world. So thank you for very much, ambassadors, for your work in Glasgow. We're very proud of you. Thank you to YMCAs around the world. APAY and your YMCAs are taking the lead in some of this work in green leadership. Really pleased I could have been here. We'll keep watching and keeping up. Thanks so much, Magna.
Thank you very much again, Patricia. And please give a big round of applause to Patricia. And we're honored, and we are always inspired to see leaders like you joining us in these session like this. And I'd also like to thank all of those who joined us in this Zoom from APAY, from different parts of the world. And I'd like to also make an announcement that before we finish this, let's have a group photo. So please, I ask you guys to turn on your cameras, hold your smiles, and let's wait for the photo. So I know it's kind of late for some of you here. So okay.
Yeah, so let's get together for the picture. Turn on your cameras, please. And we will need to hold it for a while because we have a lot of people. So 1, 2, 3. Hold it there. 1, 2, 3. Hold it, hold it. There's a lot of people here today, so we need to make a lot of screenshots. And the last one, hold it. Great. That was great. Thank you very much. Magda, over to you.
Thank you, Mary Chris. So again, I'd like to thank everybody for joining us today. And we are so honored and happy to have you. And we hope that you have found some inspiration to continue the work you are doing and keep believing in young people and to keep fighting against climate change. Guys, I encourage you. The time is running. So we have to go and do something fast because the time to act is now. Again, this has been Mags Gana from YMCA of Makati and APAY Philippines. I'm happy to be your host today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Hello, Mike. My friends. Hello over there. Pacharin. Adriana. Thank you. Hi, Uyanga. Hello. Thank you so much. Hello. Moon. I know it's late there. Thank you. Hi from YMCA Argentina. Hello, everyone. Nice to see you. The whole team. Hello. My team from Makati. Hello. From YMCA in Albay. Congratulations to your work. Hello, everyone. Bye-bye.